Hello, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Everything okay so far?
Yep, as far as I can tell. I've got the I'm not sure if there's a video required. Do you have video capabilities or are
I
you
do. I just now got in. I'm just starting to
okay?
get over here, get out of here. Well, it's there it goes. Okay. Looks like we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ron Wyrick has ever used this or not.
He did
But,
with the city council meetings.
Okay. So he ought to be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to step away until almost 5 o'clock. I'll let you make sure everybody else is in.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Can we get a tiled view of everybody, perchance?
That's gonna be on your settings in the computer. So I have a tiled view of the recording, but
Okay, I've got it.
you got it. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Linda on?
I'm sorry, Gail, is who on?
I don't see Linda or Rita.
Well, if you'll go to participants, it'll list everybody that's there. They all have their video turned off.
Oh, they do.
They're
Okay.
here. They're here.
Yeah, I see they're there, but I don't see them. Okay, so they've just got the video off. That's fine.
And really all we need is board members to have video on.
Brandy,
Diane?
Brandy's here now.
Good.
Brandy, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, and okay, there's
Okay, we've
Now
got
we
it.
can see you too. Good. Okay.
Okay, it is 5 o'clock. I will call the board meeting to order. It is now 5 p.m. on January 19th. Since this meeting is held via Zoom, I'll call the roll in alphabetical order. Please give all responses clearly so that the recording picks up all video. I'm sorry, all audio. Ms. Ball?
Here.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Ms. Johannes?
Here.
Mr. Kyle?
Here.
Mr. Lawrence is present. Ms. Merritt? I can see you. Brandy, are you muted perchance?
No, my connection's unstable.
That's all right. I can see you. Mr. Wyrick?
Wire here.
Okay, we have a quorum. I have a few housekeeping items to discuss. I'll poll votes in alphabetical order, just like I just did the roll. If you have a question or comment, please wave your hand to be recognized. If you are not speaking, please temporarily mute yourself so that we can have good audio quality, no interruptions in the background. Please remember to mute yourself once you finish speaking as well. And please try not to interrupt anyone that is speaking, because nobody will be able to understand either one of you if multiple people are speaking. Thank you all for your cooperation in this. So item 2, is anyone online for the public hearing?
I don't think we'll will be able to have any comments because the audience won't be able to see this until Tuesday. However, it's unlikely anyone will have it.
Right. Item 3, since this meeting is held via Zoom, we will skip the invocation and pledge. Items 4 and 5 are not required since there was no one for the public hearing. Item 6, citizens' comments. I assume that's going to be the same. Robin, I'm sure we don't have anybody registered for citizens' comments, do we?
No, we don't.
Okay.
No, we do not.
Okay. Item 7, adoption of minutes from the November meeting and the December special meetings. That's December 2nd and December 22nd. May I have a motion to approve all 3 sets of minutes, please? Wave your hand at me. Have a motion by Diane. Do I have a second? Mr. Wyrick. Okay.
Second.
Diane made the motion and Ron seconded. Any discussion on these minutes?
I have a comment. November the 10th. Number 16 on A. We've been calling these beautification grants, and we can't find, when we were doing the bylaws, we cannot find where that is an actual grant that we've had approved by city council. So I'm going to suggest we change that to redevelopment grant.
What item is that?
November 10th, line 16.
Okay, they are redevelopment / beautification grants. Thank you.
Well, beautification grant is not noted anywhere in any form.
That's why I said they are redevelopment / beautification grants. So I think it's fine.
Do we have a beautification grant?
They're,
I never
are
heard of it.
they are not all redevelopment, but they are all the beautification of the property. So that's why we kind of have been using that phrase, but they are, according to the old way, redevelopment grants.
Okay, do you want to just strike the word beautification?
Would you
Sorry?
prefer to change it to facade?
No, they aren't facade grants. These are the bigger grants.
Facade
That's
has a
fine.
limit of $5,000.
Oh, that's right.
Since it's
That's
called,
fine. We're having to redo our grant process for a little while, but we haven't done that yet.
currently we have a 2019 redevelopment grant approved by the council. Ms. Cooper, would you have any problem just striking the word beautification?
No, that's fine.
Okay, any further discussion on the minutes?
See, on December 10th, I'm sorry, December 2nd,
Uh-huh.
same issue. Lakeside Animal Clinic, we need to call that redevelopment grant.
Ms. Cooper, do you have any problem with that?
Oh, no, Robin will change all the rest of them. We don't have to go through each one separately.
Okay. And let's see, December 22nd. I've kind of got several comments. It starts off with some things are missing that we discussed. So on December 22nd, let me get specific and look at those. When we reviewed the financials, you were going, Ms. Cooper was going to send us an explanation to all the board members of the credit card use and what that applied to, as well as like a P&L statement for the year, so we could actually see our fiscal year end, which ended in September.
Well, I don't recall anybody having asked for that for the full board. However, Susan did get it. It was And actually, if you think about it, when you get your statement for November 1st, September 30th, October 1st, that is basically your year-end statement. It may be dated as a monthly statement, but it comes to the same thing as a
But
yearly statement.
it does not show our budget for that year, whether we would,
Which year, sir?
for the 2019/2020 budget, which would coincide with the fiscal year.
Well, it would have had there been a real budget done, Joe, but you are well aware of the circumstances there. So let's not spend any more time on that.
We had a budget. It's on our website.
The one from before I came,
Yeah,
well, it may be, but it had several amendments to it after that.
well, again, we don't know what we did year to date for last year. And that's a
Exactly.
formal report we're supposed to have.
Exactly. That's why I have changed the system, as you know, and now we have, and I'll be going into that in the next conversation. But I could not possibly figure that out from something that had about 25 amendments through the year, as you are aware. Okay?
All right.
Any further discussion?
I got a question.
Okay.
Okay, are we gonna amend and change all the beautification grants to, I guess, do we have to have a motion on changing all those to the other grant?
No,
Instead,
the minutes are going to be changed to reflect that, and in the future, beautification will not be used.
okay.
And they are redevelopment grants, and they're called redevelopment/beautification. So we are covered. Is that all right, Ron?
Okay, I couldn't figure out how we was using the beautification with the in it to how it works. So
It's the same
just trying
thing.
to clarify.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll assume we're ready to vote on adoption of the November 10th, December 2nd, and December 22nd meetings. Ms. Ball? Please unmute yourself before voting.
Sorry about that. Yes.
So you can remute. Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hannes,
Johannes, yes.
Johannes. I'm going to learn in another year or two to pronounce that correctly. Mr. Keel, Mr. Kyle,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence votes yes. Ms. Merritt
Yes.
and Mr. Wyrick.
Wyrick, yes.
Motion passes. Item 8, adoption of financials for November. May I have a motion, please?
I motion to adopt the financials for November.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wyrick, Susan Ball, made the motion, and Mr. Wyrick seconded. Discussion, please.
I've got a comment.
Okay.
Why are our statements of assets and liabilities and all now missing the chart of accounts? It's a little more difficult to go through this when the assigned numbers are missing.
They aren't missing, Joe. We are simplifying everything for the board. And as I said, I'll be going into that when I make my presentation right after this.
Removing designated account numbers from QuickBooks is not making it easier. It's making it more difficult.
Mr. Kyle, is that something that can be resolved with the bookkeeper?
Easily. It's
Okay.
actually the click of a button on the software.
Okay, we'll let the treasurer and you resolve that with the bookkeeper. Any further discussion?
I'm reading some notes that Ms. Cooper had sent back. And I still have a couple of items that I'm not quite sure of. It looks like GBC Medical Associates has not made a payment since July of 2020. And
If you look at your agenda, I will be talking about that later on.
okay. And I guess you'll cover the other ones on Tip Top.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Anything else?
You're going to cover those later. I do have a question. This board was never presented to approve payments to McGuire and Craddock. And
Yes, that
this
is part of legal, and the legal was part of the budget at $15,000, and we are still not at $15,000. It is not for a particular attorney. It is for legal expenses.
But
Anything else?
legal decisions are to be brought before the board of directors and put in our minutes and approved by the city council.
No,
So
they
we
aren't.
hired a new law firm.
No, they aren't, sir. And we established that quite some time ago, so let's move ahead.
Well, are we finished paying them now?
Yes, actually we are, I think. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, we are. And we're also finished with Raymond Shackelford, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
And we're still under the total budgeted amount, Gail?
So far, yes, but remember, we do constantly have legal issues, and so Jeff Moore is still getting checks from us.
Right, but currently we're under the 15,000 budgeted annually.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
I'm glancing through it. I think everything else is pretty, I'm assuming the city forgot to pay us last month. We had no income from them.
You mean in November?
So we're going to get a double this month, I'm
In
expecting.
December, we got two, yes, December 2nd, I think, and December 12th, which we anticipated. It wasn't anybody forgot, but Robin was on vacation, then I was on vacation, and we were unaware that there was a check in the box for us.
Okay.
Now, Nikki is sending us a note when she is putting that into the box.
Then you have, with all your other answers you sent us, that makes, I think I'm ready to vote. Unless somebody else has questions.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Approval of the financials for November. Ms. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hannes,
Yes.
Mr. Kyle,
Yes,
Mr. Lawrence votes yes. Ms. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Wyrick.
Wyrick, yes.
Motion passes. Okay, item 9, presentation of new budgetary reports to the board. Ms. Cooper has the floor.
Yes, this is what I wanted to tell you about. As you know, August was the first time I prepared a budget for us, and I didn't have much to go on from before, but I did my best. And then as I was looking at it, I thought our statements were not really all that easy for people to read. So I asked our bookkeeper if instead of just giving us the long involved financial statements, which are fine for me, fine for Susan, but not really clearly indicative for the rest of the board. So I asked her if she would please start doing, and if you look at your November profit and loss budget versus actual statement there, you'll see where we are both as far as the actual amount remaining and the percent of budget remaining. So you can quickly see, so that'll help eliminate some of these questions that we've just been answering. You can quickly see, for instance, if we go to, here's a good one. On page 2 under variable expenses, you'll see website, $5,000, and there's still 100% of the budget remaining. That's because we have not yet done GIS planning, which is going to be done this week. So you can quickly see some of these things will go down. The variable expenses particularly will be going down month by month. And some of them will just sit until all of a sudden they're gone. That's typical of any budget because some things are budgeted purely on a one fee paid annually and other things are paid monthly. So you should be able to figure this out much more easily. And here's something that I would like to point out to you. On November 2020, in under fixed expenses, under line 3, you will see that we allowed $1,000 for security, and that's our alarm. Then it goes under November expenses, there's a $1,494 expense. So that just stands out right away to you because it's a one-time fee and it is only budgeted for $1,000. So what's going on? And that's the kind of thing that we will be helped with now. The security is, as I said, alarm only. And Angela inadvertently, not knowing what it was for, put it into security when actually it is software and it's either the Granicus or the AV Capture. I was totally unaware that we were going to be charged those. So they aren't in the budget at all. And that's one of the things that we will have to do when we bring a budget amendment to the council. We don't want to do that until we know exactly what is going on. Probably October, probably mid-year would be a good time. But for instance, that one is actually now moved into software, and so is the other one. If you go into office expenses, software purchase and upgrade, the 1716 wasn't budgeted, and that's one of those two softwares. This is the other one. One of them just have to come out in October and the other one in November. The city bills us that and we have to pay it. And as I say, I was unaware of it. So that is going to be added to our budget. So
I think
that's
this is
the
gonna
kind
make some
of thing that we'll be able to see.
Gail, I have a question.
Yes.
Since the that is moved to software, does the software have any dollars in there currently in the budget, or do we have to actually add more dollars to the budget to cover those expenses?
It was not, those two things were not budgeted at all.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do we need to do a vote to add those to?
Now,
Add-
as I said, when we, about the mid-year, we'll do some budget amendments and that will be one.
Ms. Cooper, does that include the Granicus? I know it's the next item for discussion, but
Yes, well, that Granicus is a definite. The
Okay,
item
well,
for discussion is additional cost. So again, as I say, we'll have to look at all this when we look at a couple of other items. Yeah.
okay, still on item 9, the new budgetary reports. Are there any other questions from Ms. Cooper?
I've got a couple of comments. I have not looked at this real thoroughly, but I believe we're missing an income item on your, under income, our loan principal payments. That's not on here. And I'm not seeing our insurance cost under the fixed expenses.
Well, I know that insurance is there. And actually, you and I went over this at the time the budget was done, Joe. I think you called me and had several questions, and that was one of them. Not the revolving loan, but I don't believe, I think revolving loan fund is the only part that would be considered income. The rest would be deductions
It
from
would be an expense,
money owing.
but I'm not seeing an insurance expense on this one.
Oh, the insurance one, I was referring to the loan fund, the first question you asked.
No, okay, yeah. The income, that increases our income by about $60,000.
Well, it's not income though. Well, anyways, you and I can talk about that offline because I doubt very much everybody else wants to spend time on it.
And then-
I'll have to find,
And then we did something on the budget that we need to, I believe, change. And under our projects and programs, we removed a lot of line items that we have, like the RBG loan for $109,000 sitting in the bank. And we took out boots in business as a line item. So I think we need to put those back in this. So we
Oh.
actually,
yes, as I say, maybe we could talk about that offline and not spend all that time on the whole boards.
Well,
Insurance, we definitely have insurance. I'm trying to figure out where it is here. So it is.
well, we'll do this at a later date. The concept is great. And I appreciate where you've gone. We needed a
Thank
P&L.
Thank you. I hope it's going to help everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Any further questions for Ms. Cooper? Hearing none, we'll move to item 10, discuss and or take action on Granicus and the purchase of tablets. This was tabled from a previous meeting. May I have a motion, please?
I'll motion to discuss it.
Mr. Kyle, may I have a second? Mr. Foster? Okay, I'll open the floor for discussion. I'd like to ask Ms. Cooper, where will the money come from for this purchase in the budget?
It's unbudgeted because all of Granicus is.
Okay,
Yeah.
what was Granicus originally budgeted at? What was approved?
None. I was unaware of it, totally.
What
I
was
didn't even
the,
know we would be using that in the coming year. Now, let me go on and explain this part. The Granicus software allows us to have our agendas posted, follow through in the meeting, make comments, all of that type of thing through software. So it is a good thing to have, and the council uses it. However, the council uses their little monitors. They're like a little, well, it's called this, the Microsoft Surface Pro. And they cost a little over $750. So what I would propose, it looks as though we should be using Granicus software. We're paying for it. We share the cost with the city. That decision was made before my time. And you must have been aware of it because it was voted on. But the 750 plus per board member, as you can tell, comes to a lot of money, like over $5,000. So what I would suggest is if you want to use Granicus, but then you would not need the paper packet. If you want the paper packet, Granicus, there's no point in spending the money on it. I hope you follow that because your whole meeting would be online and visible through these little monitors, just like council has. So if you want the packet, then we'll just stay with the packet and we'll just help the city pay for the software. But if you would like to improve it and be more technologically oriented, it would make it a lot easier for Robin and actually for Joe and for me to be conducting the meeting. But it's entirely up to you. If you, I suppose you could choose either or. If some of you want the tablets and some of you want to still have the packet, we could do that too. But I just need you to discuss it. And last time it was tabled. This technically isn't picking it off the table because it's been 2 months since our last meeting and you actually can't go past 30 days, but we are revisiting it, so to speak. And that's because you wanted the exact numbers, and so I got those from Mickey.
If I remember, Ms. Cooper, if I remember correctly, the $750 per was what the city had bought. That was a heavier duty, more bulletproof type of a tablet. And I think
Not
there
really,
was
no. No, it was just the city bought these without having to pay for them because the funding came through the CARES Act. But this is a relatively mediocre type of thing. I thought it was the Chromebooks, but it turned out they opted for these, and I'm not sure why. But looks as though that would probably be a way for us to go because it would coincide with theirs, and therefore the software would coordinate with both and so on. I'm not a software engineer, but that's what they're telling us.
But if I understand it correctly, we're still getting a benefit from the Granicus in that Robin can post everything and do everything and communicate with the city, and everything can be uploaded to the website easily. The only question here is whether we spend a little over $5,000 to buy the board members' tablets. Is that correct?
Robin, is that correct? Do you communicate with the city that way? Can you unmute?
I think,
I have not used the Granicus program yet myself. I'm working on training for it.
And we, maybe Janet could answer that for us. Janet's on, and if she unmutes, maybe she can tell us if there's a way we can use it to communicate with you. I didn't think so, but you go ahead.
I think Granicus would be you guys would have access to it just like the city would, and we would have access to post on your website, or you would have access to post on your website just as we do ours.
It might be AV capture, Joe. That definitely is an advantage for us because AV capture is what we can do this with. That's the other software.
One of the questions from our previous meeting was, my understanding is there was some CDC grant money available to the city, and we were going to explore whether that was available to the EDC also.
No, it was actually CARES Act funding. As I just mentioned, they got a $26,000 grant for this through the CARES Act. The EDC isn't likely to get money through the CARES Act. We have too much money.
if I ain't mistaken, stepping in here on this, we tabled this thing the last time for more information on what it is going to cost to get tablets, what kind of expenses we were going to be out of every year for these tablets and all. And there would be a number brought back to us and presented to us as a board of what it was going to cost to do all this. And as of right now, I don't see that.
Yes, that's what your paper is on, Ron. The order confirmation from Mickey. And it's only a one-time cost for the tablets. You purchase those. We have to pay for the software every year anyways.
That's what I was thinking.
Whether we have those or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because we agreed to, apparently the year before I was here.
Ms. Cooper, is there something in our packet showing that cost?
Yes, it should be their order confirmation right behind your financials. Is it not there?
I don't have that.
I don't have it.
I don't have it.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I can pull it up.
Well, how much is the total amount? A little over 5,000?
Well, yes, it would be if we bought all of them, yes.
Okay.
It's $758.30 per monitor.
Well, we would have, if we approve this, we would have to send it to the city as an amendment to our budget to request spending the additional funds, correct?
Well, again, we are going to have budget amendment the middle of the year. And yes, naturally, anything that was unbudgeted, we will have to do.
Okay, any further discussion? I would just simply like to say, I think this is a pretty large expenditure for not a whole lot of gain. I think we can get a lot out of the Granicus software as we're currently using it. If Robin continues with the training, listening to Janet originally and listening to the city's affirmation of using the package, I think it's a great deal. I don't see a huge benefit to spending $6,000 so we each have our own tablet. I think that you can download your package electronically every month to your laptop, bring your own laptop, iPad, or get the staff to print you a package every month, which is pretty minimal cost. That's just my 2 cents. Further discussion?
Vote.
Hearing none, the only motion is that we discuss it. Do I have a motion to purchase any or all of these tablets? If not, this will die. Hearing none, there will be no purchase, and we have discussed it. Okay. To my knowledge, Ms. Cooper, correct me if I'm wrong, that does not warrant a vote of any type. Is that correct?
It was to be a vote, but you can just say that it failed for lack of a motion.
Okay. Fail for lack of a motion. Item 11, discussion regarding website. Ms. Cooper has the floor again.
Okay, I have been working with our website, trying to get it looking better. There's a lot of work to be done, but the big thing is, and we took the presentation off of our meeting for tonight because it was a 45-minute to an hour presentation, and with having to do it via Zoom, I was afraid it wasn't going to be able to be comprehended the way it would have been if we were doing it live. So we are just going ahead and doing it because we budgeted for it, specifically GIS planning software. And so that will be incorporated into our website, whether or not we're able to get much in the way of the rest of the upgrades or not. The GIS planning is going to enable people looking at Gun Barrel City to find out a lot of wonderful information. So it'll be great, and you'll have a demonstration of it, I guess, maybe at a later date when we don't have as much on the agenda. But it is phenomenal software, and it's the #1 software used for this type of thing in economic development agencies.
Now,
State,
is this
you know,
question, are we talking about leaving Sugar Rock then?
no, GIS planning is only location software. It is just for embedding into our website. And
Okay.
a couple of months ago, there are 2 people involved with it. I'm getting feedback, I'm sorry. There are 2 people involved with this at GIS planning. One is Jeff Sinison, who is in charge of the whole program nationally. The other is Brian Beatty. Brian Beatty and Ben had a conversation about this, making sure that our website had enough memory and RAM and so on, that it was going to be able to handle GIS planning. And Ben was pretty sure that we would be able to, so that was good.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Mr. Warwick, thank you for muting, Mr. Warwick. Any further questions from Ms. Cooper?
Yes, so what is the cost going forward with this GIS? Is it on a monthly basis?
Actually, it's yearly. It's $5,000 a year. So we're only buying it for 1 year at the moment. We're taking a 1-year contract. And then if we like it, and I know you will, because we will see, we'll be able to actually have some decent location information on our website. Right now, we really don't. And that will make a big difference. So we'll be able to attract site selectors better. But next year at this time, we will begin on it.
So currently we pay $100 a month for website. Is that going
For
to continue?
hosting.
That's going to continue?
Well, no, Ben doesn't want us to stay at $100, but that's totally separate from this.
So I'm just trying to get a total cost involved with the website.
The website has not changed. It's GIS planning that is different. It is one piece of software embedded into the website.
Okay, so that will be a $5,000.
Not changed.
That will be a $5,000 charge that's not currently in the budget as well.
No, it is in the budget. It was budgeted for at the beginning of this year, and it's specific. It says GIS planning, because that was what I knew we were going to want to do, to have locational software.
Okay, so then the $100 charge that we get on a monthly basis is going to continue.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And if we go with a different website host at some point, that'll change, but we also would then have to pay for a new website. So websites are the most important part of economic development marketing.
I would agree.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Just a question. We have a lot of historical information on our website now, and it really hasn't been updated for the past year. Is that a project that y'all are going to work on in the
That's
near
what I was
future?
saying. That's what I was saying I am working on. There isn't really that much information. What there is, some of it's in the wrong place. A great deal needs to be added because it does not have enough information on it. Unfortunately, I don't know if you'll recall, unfortunately, when I met with Ben at Sugar Rock, he decided he didn't want to work on our website.
One more question, if I could. We had also talked about taking new pictures.
Yes.
Is that something that's still going to happen?
It is, and we're waiting for spring because most of them are outdoor and it looks kind of crappy out there right now. But he is on hold, and he knows that probably March, when everything is looking good and green again, that's when we'll do them. And we have wonderful things to take pictures of, even like our emergency hospital. It's gorgeous, and nothing like that. We don't really have any pictures on the website. All we have on our website is the pictures of the board that are now updated, and some pictures that are what you call stock photo, not related to Gun Barrel City at all. They're just images that have been put on the website. And that's not all Sugar Rock's fault. There was a real lack of coordination when our website was put together.
Any further questions for Ms. Cooper? Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Item 12.
Ms. Cooper, the only question I got here is, Ms. Cooper. Hello?
You're breaking up.
Ron, there's a real lag time when you're talking. Go
Joe,
ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what, I don't know what happened here. Y'all just get cut off or disappear. What I was trying to find out is with somewhere she's had, every time we turn around, it seemed like the EDC's putting more money into software or websites and this and that, that I'd like to see exactly what we're getting. I guess more details on it before we okay it for that money to be spent there. Because the website we have right now is so, I want to say, it is out, I don't say it's out of date, but they changed it to a point that it's not transparent at all to the public out there or anybody else.
I'm
And
not sure what
before we're dumping more money into, before we dump more money into something, I want to make sure we're getting our bucks worth out of it instead of we're just dumping money into something.
Which part are you referring to, Ron?
I'm talking about our website.
Well, we aren't
And all.
paying anything more on the website, but we are doing GIS planning, which is already approved. It was approved by the board at the time of the budget. and council, of course. That's done.
Okay, well-
But redoing the website is something we will look at in the future. And for now, the website is $1,200 a year, but we can't make any changes to it because we pay $125 an hour for every change.
I guess what I'm saying here is transparency as far as the ED board and the EDC period is gone out the door.
Sorry, what?
There's
what
no
you mean, Bob?
transparency between the EDC where the people can understand what we're actually doing out here, because the website itself, and I don't know how we need to fix it, or we need a board or whatever to get in there and fix it. If we don't get that end of it fixed, nothing else is going to really matter.
Well,
It's all
our
going to be out
budget
there.
Our budget is online. You can't be more transparent than that. If you're referring to not being able to see the meetings, that has been corrected.
Okay. There's stuff that I still haven't been able to, and I don't really want to get into it right now on this here, that I can't even get to on the website that we got right now. So,
Okay, maybe
but
you could send me an
they
email,
need to
Ron.
discuss it. Well, we need to discuss it. So we might need to discuss that in a special workshop. So instead of what we need to get this business taken care of right now.
Maybe you could send me an email about what people are telling you is missing, Ron.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will move to item 12, discuss and/or take action, paving of entries to Gun Barrel Village Shopping Center. May I have a motion, please? Have to have a motion to discuss. Ms. Ball makes a
Motion to
motion.
discuss the paving.
I'll second it.
Mr. Kyle has a second. Open the floor for discussion. Ms. Cooper, I have a few questions on this item.
Okay.
This is the same property that we recently approved a forgivable loan in the amount of $50,000. Is that correct?
A grant, yes. And this is not, these openings, these entries into the shopping center are not related to Bell's or to
Burks?
the new store Burke's, but they
Okay.
are related to the entire shopping center, which has two different owners.
Okay, that
Yes.
leads into my next question. In our packet, I see about a dozen pictures of the parking lot, and I've driven through the parking lot. I agree, it's in terrible shape. And there's one quote from Bar None Paving to Ernest Willis at gbc.net in the amount of $21,825. Who is asking for this money? The city, the property
city.
manager, the city?
The city, because the city can't, even if they had the money, they can't help out with any private property. If they were to do that, it would set a precedent and everybody would want to have their property improved.
Okay, how much money is being requested?
Well, this is a bid that went to Ernie Willis here at Gun Barrel City. And I asked Jeff about, because Jeff has been calling me about this for a while. They get constant complaints from people who aren't happy with the way that parking lot is. And to the average resident, they think that the city takes care of parking lots, which of course is not true. But even though Jeff keeps saying this private property and we don't have the money to pay it, and we wouldn't if we did. So he talked with me about it because it definitely is an economic development issue. If people are uptight about going into a shopping center and they get irate about it, they eventually will just say, I'm not shopping there. We do not want that to happen. So I talked with Jeff, or actually he called me, And I said, yes, it is an economic development issue. I would have to talk with my board and see how they feel about spending that money, which would have to come out of our business infrastructure line item, which is, I think, only $100,000. There's not a lot in there right now, but it certainly is something that we should do as an economic development corporation. It's just up to you whether we do or not. The only reason why just one bid was given to us is because this Barnum Paving is the company that the city does all their paving with. So they feel they get the best deal from them. And I would be happy to get other bids if you would like me to, but they felt that this was about the lowest we would get. Also, in the meantime, somebody has made some improvements. So there are 2 entries that apparently are better. When I had looked at it, it was all a disaster and those holes all over the place. But apparently it's a little better, so it should be a little lower cost, and I would have to have them go out and rebid it.
Okay, so is the total amount being requested the whole 21,000?
Yes.
Okay, and you mentioned a program. What program would this be requested under?
It'll have to come out of business incentives. That's
Okay,
that's the only line item we have.
Okay, I recently overheard one of the business owners in that strip center discussing the Burks move-in. And they mentioned that the Burks team, I guess, had spoken to several of the business owners, and everybody was welcoming and everybody was very excited about Burks moving in. But one of the business owners mentioned that they were told that by Burks that one of the stipulations in the contract was that the parking lot would be repaired, and that the property owner accepted that contract or made that contract with Burks, and that was a stipulation. Has anyone with the city or the EDC staff seen the Burks contract? And if so, is this in the contract?
That's a private
that.
contract. That's the private contract between, and I'm very surprised that they would say that something like this was in it. But that is definitely between the landowner and Burks. And that
Well, and I asked because if the landowner is obligated to do it, then contractually, then, you know.
Well, I would have to check with Burks and ask them, because the landowner is saying that they will not be doing this. The one landowner, and remember, this is all the way through the parking lot. It's not just at the end where Bell's Burks is.
Well, from Burks West is one owner, I believe. I mean, it may not be a perfect split. Then Burks East is another, and Burks West has been done. The first part entry there by Starbucks and the second entry closest to Starbucks, those have been repaired. So the east end is the bad end.
Well, if they're the 2 that have been repaired, that's good news, because that is the correct owner, the one that we're dealing with. But the other ones are really, really bad.
Well,
as I said, this
I
will
just
be a
kinda
lower
wanna-
amount.
Yeah. Since this is just a discussion, is all this is.
This is a-
Myself, these holes and stuff that we got pictures on all this, and in the parking lot and all. This stuff's been going on for 5 years or more. These poles and stuff have been there. And the property owner there that owns the strip mall there, all the strip malls in there, the 2 different owners, I don't see in my picture as this being a beautification or anything else, because myself, taxpayer, to us to go in there and give a business money to do an asphalt when they can't even get their roads out here fixed, it's got potholes in it, really makes us look bad as far as EDC giving money out to somebody to do potholes in their driveways where they can't even get their roads fixed out here in Gun Barrel City.
And the 2 issues are
this
very
is something,
separate.
I mean,
Potholes in streets.
they've been there. Yep. I mean, they've been there for too long anyway, and the landlord should have done fixed them. And now he wants to come forward and get money from us to me, that's just a no period. So that's just my thought on it. So
Potholes in the streets, the EDC cannot do anything about because those are residential streets. But this is a
that's
business situation. That's why it is
Right.
our responsibility, not the city's.
Yep. I understand 100%, but it's taxpayers' money we're spending in here too. So
Well,
at the
it's not
same
residents.
time,
It's not residents.
it's
It's
no,
everybody
it's
who
taxpayers' money.
shops there.
It's taxpayers'
So-
money, and I want to make sure we spend it well. That's all I got to say.
Okay, so Ms. Cooper has stated that probably with the 2 entrances already redone, it'll be less than 21. All we're doing is discussing at this point. I will either entertain a motion to table until we can get some new amounts, or if someone would rather, they can make a motion as long as there's a second, and we can move to vote on an exact amount to give to this. So I'll entertain a motion either way. Mr.
I would just
Foster?
like to ask
Okay,
one
I'm sorry.
clarification.
Further
I have a
discussion.
comment.
Sorry, yeah, if it is further discussion, I just want clarification. So the west side where the 2 entrances have been patched, and they're pretty good, you know, I go in that way all the time. So that was the request from this individual. The other individual that owns the east side has not requested money, but that's where the patches are needed.
Nobody has requested money except the city. The owners of the shopping center have not requested any money, but the city is desperate to get this done, and they cannot spend the money because it's at the entry into it. So part of it is city, part of it is the responsibility of the landowner, but they can't do it.
Is there a possibility, Ms. Cooper, that if the revised estimate based on West End already being done cuts down to say $10,000, that the East End owner would be willing to split that with the EDC? Is that up for discussion?
The East End owner does not want to participate in anything.
Okay, Mr. Foster, you had your hand up.
I'm going to suggest that we might make this nothing, a facade grant and offer $5,000 max.
It isn't a facade grant and it doesn't qualify. It has to be a business incentive. It isn't to a building. And our grants are for buildings. So we can't use that money.
Facade grant is for an individual business. This is for a group of
And
businesses.
so
Mr.
is the redevelopment grant.
Right, Mr. Kyle? Mr.
As
Kyle,
we-
I believe you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I know that we are allowed to contract through the city. Would they be willing to give us a bid to repair those areas?
This is their bid. They don't have their own papers. The city uses this company.
Okay,
this
this is
is
from
their
the
bid.
city.
Yeah.
Well, then we just need to entertain a new set of bids to get a dollar amount. And I would say at this point in time, we table this until next month and we have specific numbers to review.
Mr. Kyle, are you offering a motion to table?
Motion to table.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion to table by Mr. Kyle. Hold on, guys. I need to catch up here. Robin, I'm
Okay,
trying
and I
to.
will ask Jeff to get a new bid for us.
Do
I'm
we
sorry.
have anyone else that would bid?
Well, as I said at the beginning, all of this came from Jeff Arnsfald, our city manager, and they deal with this company. So they believe that this is where they will get the best bid because they do a lot of work with them.
Fair enough.
Any further discussion? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to table. Ms. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Honest? Was that a yes? Diane?
Yes, sorry, I didn't realize I was still muted. Yes.
Mr. Kyle?
Yes,
Mr. Lawrence votes yes. Ms. Merritt? And Mr. Wyrick.
Wyrick, yes.
Table passes. Okay, item 13, discuss and/or take action, increased hours for executive assistant. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to discuss the need to increase the hours to, hold on, let me look at the budget. I think we agreed early on to put extra money in the budget for this.
Yes, actually, that was your suggestion, Joe, and it was a good one. I was gonna bid it straight at her
Okay.
normal
Okay,
time.
let's hold discussion until we have a motion and second. Do I have a second? Ms. Ball? Okay, open the floor for discussion. Ms. Cooper, you might as well just take the lead on this.
Okay, we have had to have Robin here more than half days. And we will need more because, believe it or not, we're actually getting kind of busy with economic development. And there is more and more, yes, most exciting thing. And there's more and more that she is helping me with, particularly research. And she's also helping in the background with some of the other things that I cannot always get to. I do need to be out of the office more than I am now. Because of COVID, I have not been able to meet with people the way I would normally be doing, but coming up soon, that is likely to change as things get better regarding vaccines and so on. So I just thought it might be a good idea if starting the middle of March, say, we had Robin on full time and she is willing to do that. She is learning more and more about actual economic development, so that's really good. She's a very good worker, and I always appreciate her help. She is helping with you now, helping you with your inquiries and taking care of details for you, so that takes that off of me, and I appreciate that as well. So I would just like for you to consider having her on full time. And she is going to have to start using her phone more because she's in and out a lot too. And rather than having a bunch of voicemails left for us, I'm not a fan of people phoning the EDC and getting a voicemail. That's why I have my own cell phone on my cards because they can reach me right away. However, I can't always be available. So sometimes they're calling because they think they should call that number. So she's been very helpful. So I also want to add $100 a month for her telephone, or even 50, something for her telephone. As you know, Walter, or you may not, but Walter had all of this type of thing when he was the admin, and Robin has not.
Okay, Ms. Cooper, I'm assuming there would be other costs included as well. If she goes full-time, will there be insurance and all those costs? And if so, do you have that number?
I do not. I wanted to find out first if you were willing to consider it, but my estimate is that if she were by the hour, therefore she would not be, and she doesn't need to be a part of TML, of the health plan, because her husband has a health plan that she is on. But if that were to change, that's a bigger cost. So we would have to consider that. In the meantime, she would just be an hourly paid employee, which is different from a salaried employee. And then we could think about bringing her on salary.
Okay. Mr. Kyle?
So let me make sure I understand. Currently, she's working 20 hours a week.
So then be 40.
And this would be up to 40 hours a week.
Yes.
And that fits within the dollar amount that we put into the budget.
No.
That's already been approved.
That's only about half of it would be.
Well, see, that's what I'm thinking. We would actually need to go to council and ask for additional, that's another budget amendment.
And that's another budget amendment that, as I say, we will be doing in March, or approximately March. And all of these things will be put there. Now, do keep in mind that last year's budget was a negative $217,000. Since I came, it is now a plus 27,500. We have cut back so much on costs. And a big part of that is the executive director's salary, for one thing, but also I do not participate in as many activities as most executive directors do.
Ms. Cooper, is it fair to say that since there is some leeway in the budget that her hours could conservatively increase over the next couple of months until we can get a new budget approved?
Oh, definitely. We have 18,000, I believe it is, budgeted for her. And let's see, let's take a look at our quick little budget in here. I was thinking we will probably end up being more at the 30,000 or closer to the 30,000, but let's see where we are here. Yes, we were at 18 and we still have 84% of our budget left. So we're more than our target. I mean, we're in better shape than if we were already using her as much.
Then possibly the motion to put on the table would be to, since this is a staff item, let Ms. Cooper direct Robin's hours. And Robin, we all think you've done a great job, by the way. We appreciate you. Let Ms. Cooper increase Robin's hours as required for the next couple of months, and then put this before the board as a new budget item, as full-time. If anybody has another alternative, either way, it needs to be a friendly amendment or a new motion. Since we have discussed it, there's no vote required. So if somebody wants to make a motion to that effect or something different. Ron?
Yeah, I just got a couple of questions here. I might be out of place, but I don't think I am. If we increase her hours now, she becomes 40 hours a week. That's a full-time employee now. By state law and all, a full-time employee has to be covered insurance and everything else. So we need to have a total dollar on all this of what is going to take place.
But Robin has declined the health care because she's on her husband's.
Okay.
If she wanted it, yes, that's an additional $500 a month.
Yeah, I mean that that's something that we have to make sure we're covered, on all the bases to make sure, because once you come 40 hours, we're required to offer her the same thing as we've offered anybody else. So that's retirement, medical benefits, and everything else. So the numbers need to be there.
As an interim stopgap, we might consider temporary authorization to increase her hours to 35 hours a week max as required, as directed by Ms. Cooper. And Ms. Cooper will have the actual totals ready to present to the board for approval prior to the new budget. Is that acceptable, Ms. Cooper?
That would be great.
Okay, do I have a motion to that effect or something along that line?
Can we go over 32 hours without it being considered full-time? I'm not a personnel manager.
At 32 hours, I think, okay, HR lady, at 32 hours, I think you have to start providing benefits if they want them.
I believe so.
Then let's cap it at 31 hours.
No, it's okay. She doesn't want the benefits. If you decline the benefits, that's okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Somebody want to make one?
I'll make a motion that we up Robin's hours to fit within our approved budget for now. As assuming she is going to sign waivers rejecting the insurance programs.
Okay, Diane, were you going to second that?
Yes,
Okay.
I will second it.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion or any discussion on that motion?
Susan, let me just check. Am I correct that they can decline them?
Of course, she can decline,
Good.
but other benefits, as Ron brought up, for instance, any 401k, or I don't know what's offered to employees,
PML.
but she would be eligible for that, match everything else. So
Yeah, she
all
definitely
those costs
would
need to be
eligible.
correlated and found out what it is going forward.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, no further discussion. We'll go to vote. Ms. Ball,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
President votes yes. Brandy
Yes.
and Ron.
Wyrick, yes.
Motion passes. Okay, item 14, presentations. There's 4 items listed. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Cooper.
this will be real quick. We actually were able to respond to a governor's lead, and it's very exciting. It's real economic development, and the project, the code name is Project Make My Data, which I thought was very clever. They always come up with cute, clever names. So we have responded for that. I don't know if we will make the short list, but the consultant was at least interested enough when I followed up with her, because it's a direct contact. When I followed up with her, she said, can you find out how much the land is? And I was able to, and so at least she was interested enough. So that's good news. Then the legislative agenda, TEDC, Texas Economic Development Council, is following 25 items this year. It's brutal this year. So many programs are sunsetting, and they're big, important programs. I'm not going to go through 25, but for instance, the sales tax itself is sunsetting, has to be voted on. The 313 doesn't affect us because that's to do with the schools, and we aren't able to do anything with those. But the Texas Enterprise Fund, which is a massive incentive for people coming to Texas, that's up for review. Maintaining funding for the Texas Workforce Development Programs is up for review, and support for innovation and local control for tax incentives. So obviously all of these things we're lobbying hard for. It's very important that we be able to still be the top state for bringing in businesses. We remain that, and it's because we're very business friendly. So we're following that really closely. Update of Browning property. We have a possibility that was given to me for a flat $82,000 sale, but there is no information on it. And until I could get more definitive information, I would not offer it to you as an actual vote. I'm just letting you know about that. The delinquent loans, as Joe was alluding to, I have already sent a pay-up letter to Tip Top, and I have learned that GBC Medical not only has not made any payments, although the last one was in July until this month. I sent them a hurry up and send us money note, and they have now in December sent a check, or maybe it was January. It doesn't reflect it. So he wanted to make sure that we couldn't say they have not made any payments since July, but they obviously did not bring it current. And in the meantime, it's our understanding that that property has been sold. So I am going to have to talk with the attorney and see what we can do, but it looks as though we're going to have another big issue. And while we're on that topic, I know I have told you before, and I am really serious about this, be it a loan or a grant. I do not like funding in advance. And loans, we have bad history with our loans. And I'd really like to see that stop. So I'm not encouraging loans because we have to pay the money up front if it's a loan. And even if we do have, which I can't find, a lien on the property, it's a nightmare going through all these court cases. And I beseech you to really think carefully and continue on with these smaller grants that we are doing, unless we have something like Berks that is a national company. And even then we're doing the money, we're giving the money retroactively. Just losing money. So end of that conversation, but I really would like that to change. These are not loans that we have made, but we have inherited them. Okay.
Any questions on any of that from Ms. Cooper?
Yes. Are there any more loans that are outstanding other than those two that you discussed?
No, all of our loans are right up to date. And in fact, Slappin' Good, she had to start paying in, I think it was November. She started right on time and she's been paying faithfully, even though she didn't have a facility. We've got some good loans and some not so good.
So what I'm hearing is just those two bad loans. Okay.
Ms. Cooper, speaking of Slappin' Good, have you heard anything about their future plans? I've kind of heard through the grapevine they have a location in GBC, or they've secured one they're working on. Is that correct?
Yes, they've secured one they're working on. And I hope to have a nice announcement about that pretty soon. And I'll email y'all when I do.
Great. Any further questions for Ms. Cooper? Okay, thank you. Item 15, discuss and/or take action on the bylaws revisions. Before I accept a motion on this item or open the floor to discussion, I'd like to clear up any confusion on what is being offered for approval. Included in your packet were a 6-page set of bylaws titled 2020 Amended Bylaws. I don't know why this set was included in the board packet and sent to council. I will refer to this as the 6-page set. It is considered by the governance committee and by me as an unofficial and unapproved set. It is also considered by the governance committee and me as an incomplete set because it stops at item 4.1. The 2019 amended bylaws that were approved by the board and by the city council are an 8-page set that does not stop at item 4.1, but goes to item 4.4 and includes section 5 with items 5.1 through 5.12. Therefore, the 6-page set that was included in your package should not be considered, should be disregarded, and is not currently under consideration. I will give Mr. Foster the floor shortly, and he can explain what documents the committee used to prepare the set they're presenting. The other bylaws that were included in your packet were a color-coded 20-page set that was to be included as a reference so everyone could see what the governance committee added, moved, deleted, etc. Again, it is only a reference set. What was omitted from the packet is the 18-page monochrome set that the governance committee is submitting for approval. Since it was omitted from the packet, I asked Ms. Cooper to print it for board members, but she felt that was cost prohibitive. So on January 8th of 2021, I emailed the board a PDF version of the 18-page set that is being submitted for approval. This is the set of amended bylaws you're being asked to approve. That said, I will now entertain a motion to approve the 18-page monochrome set of amended bylaws titled 2020 Amended Bylaws that was emailed from me to the board on 1/8/21, and if approved, forward that set to the council for their critique, approval, as well as the attorney for his critique, final critique. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Foster, motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Kyle, second. Hold on 1 minute, please. Thank you. I'll open the floor to discussion and turn the floor over to Mr. Foster for explanation and questions. But first, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the motion. I propose to rename the bylaws 2021 amended bylaws to avoid any confusion, and since it says 2021. And I further propose to revise the list in section 2.1C5. Y'all can flip through and find that. Section 2.1C5, items A through E, as follows. And the reason for this is because these are our currently approved programs. I'd like A to be Boots to Business Grant Program. Robin, I will send you this via email. B to be Facade Improvement Program. C to be Redevelopment Grant Program. D to be RBEG pre-funded loans administered by the USDA. E to be Low Interest Revolving Loan Program. And F to be other programs as approved by the EDC Board and City Council. Mr. Foster, do you accept that as a friendly amendment? Yes, Mr. Kyle, you seconded that. Do you accept that? Mr. Kyle, hold your thumb up because you're muted. Do you accept that? Okay. Any discussion, any other friendly amendments or any discussion on those friendly amendments before I turn the floor to Mr. Foster? Yes, Ms. Merritt.
Can you just repeat those, please?
I'm sorry?
The order. Can you repeat the order?
Yes.
Of the.
Let me get back to that page.
While you're doing that, Joe, when I'm looking at our budget that was passed this year, we also added that the council approved a line that said new business incentives.
You want to put that as a friendly amendment?
I would call it business incentives. I'm not sure it needs to be required new, but I would say business incentives should be there.
Okay, Brandy, A, Boots to Business Grant Program. This is all under 2.1C5. A is Boots to Business Grant Program. B, Facade Improvement Program. C, Redevelopment Grant Program. D, RBEG, pre-funded, loans administered by the USDA. E, Low Interest Revolving Loan Program. F, other programs as approved by EDC Board and City Council. And G, business incentives. Mr. Foster, Mr. Kyle, just business incentive or?
Business incentives.
Okay. So that is the friendly amendment. And that has been accepted and seconded.
Ken has to approve that extra line.
Mr. Foster, do you approve that extra line? And Mr. Kyle, since you made it, I assume you'll approve it. Are there other friendly amendments or discussion on that friendly amendment?
Are we open for discussion now?
Yes, ma'am, we're open for discussion.
Okay. Unfortunately, these bylaw amendments you will not be able to vote on tonight. Article 9 of the corporate articles of incorporation for this board, Article 9 states, nor shall the corporation engage in any activities that are unlawful under applicable federal, state, and local laws. Mr. Lawrence has stated that the 2019 bylaws were passed by the council. They were not. They were not passed by resolution, and they must be. That is an edict from the state. So there's a state law that's gone, then local laws. Our whole system is based on the executive director managing the board. These bylaws not only don't reflect that the executive manages the board, but they also go into great detail that are not bylaws, that are basically standing rules and instructions to the staff. And the executive director is referred to in them as staff instead of executive director. I thought you would know this, and then we met as spokesman for the council. The mayor met with, back again, met with the mayor and Susan Ball and me. Joe Kyle was not there. And we went over some of the things that went into putting together these bylaws. I will now go over those points with you. On the request of the president, in a meeting here in our office on October 30th, I prepared a draft of revised bylaws for 2020. Those are the 6-page ones that you have. If you want to vote to approve those tonight, we can. We cannot vote on the others.
Ms. Cooper, let me interrupt you.
Please do not interrupt me. Let me
Okay,
get.
well, your 3 minutes is up, and this is a board vote. I've allowed you the courtesy. I've allowed you the courtesy of speaking. Let me address what you've said. Whether the 2019 amended bylaws are legal or not, they were passed by council. The city secretary sent them to me, as well as the minutes, which were forwarded to you.
They were not passed by resolution.
Okay, regardless, that's not what's in question. What is in question is you prepared that 6-page set, gave it to the governing committee as your opinion. That's why I want to let Mr. Foster have the floor. They used that. They used several different sets of bylaws. They came up with an 18-page set that is now being presented for approval. Are you saying it is illegal to have that vote tonight?
The bylaws themselves do not reflect the laws of our city. And
well, then the city council will put their 2 cents worth in. They will correct them and they will go to the attorney. Is that not the original agreement?
Actually, no, but I'm sure the city council will decide what to do with them. So if you choose to pass illegal bylaws, then the council will just have to reject them. I am not finished with this, and I don't know that I only have 3 minutes since I am the manager of the board. So please, may I go through my list?
Yes, ma'am. You may go through your list. Mr. Kyle, I'll get to you in a moment.
As mentioned, I prepared a draft bylaws set. The president then gave the committee, the governance committee, the authority to put together an alternate set of bylaws. This governance committee was not the governance committee that was elected by this board the previous year. The previous year's governance committee consisted of Joe Lawrence and Diane Johannes. Diane Johannes was not even invited to participate, even though she was on your approved governance committee. The governance committee, by the way, was put together at the request of Lee Peterson. It was not to review bylaws. The bylaws were simply supposed to be reviewed by the vice president, who was you at the time, Joe. And at that time, it became a much bigger deal. But what he had put together the governance committee for, and you can look at the old, where I got them, the old presentations to see this. He wanted to look into ethics issues on the part of the board That's why there was a governance committee. Had nothing to do with bylaws. Moving on. Mr. Foster was appointed chairman. He chose the current treasurer, Susan Ball, who is absolutely brand new to the board, knows nothing about the organization. And the former treasurer, Joe Kyle, he did not include the other officer, our secretary, Brandy Merritt. And my request to be a part of those meetings was denied. Now, keep in mind, my role is to manage the board. I was refused a position to even be there. The mayor's 2 requests for my inclusion were both denied by Mr. Foster. The resulting draft does not adhere to Resolution 2018-009 by council creating the new management structure and are therefore not legally based to begin with. In addition, they include standing rules along with an investing policy and assorted directives through the executive director, which are not part of any bylaws. They form a kind of instruction manual for the executive director, even though the executive director is the manager, not the board. So those are my comments, and they are all correct. They have all been verified, and you're welcome to see any of the accompanying paperwork.
I'm not going to argue the points. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Foster, at this time, I'm going to turn the floor to you as head of the governance committee to make whatever statements you'd like to make, and field questions. You can turn it over to your fellow governance committee members as you see fit or whatever. The floor is yours, Mr. Foster.
Well, the governance committee has worked long and hard to review the existing bylaws and present to the board of directors this proposed 18-page 2021 amended bylaws. The committee has sought input from a number of sources, including past EDC bylaws, Secretary of State's attorney, Texas Controller of Public Affairs Legal Office, and a careful review of bylaws from other Texas cities, including Gladwater, San Marcos, Buda, Seguin, Haltom City, Cleveland, Seabrook, and La Mesa. The proposed 2021 guidelines, we think, will help guarantee accountability and transparency of all Gun Barrel City economic development activities. I thank you for my statement. Any questions, be glad to try to answer.
Mr. Kyle, you had your hand up a while ago. Do you have a statement or a question?
I think Mr. Foster covered a lot of it. If we go back to the 2015 bylaws, then we're not even allowed to have a paid executive director.
Nobody asked you to go back to 2015, sir.
We have to have a starting point and come forward. So we took what we thought was appropriate, and then we utilized other EDCs and several by the Texas EDC that were called model EDC bylaws. So we constructed a product that covered the whole gambit so that a new person coming in would actually have a very good understanding of what they're going to do on the board of directors. Very specifically, I had a conversation with the Comptroller of Public Accounts, who referred me to the Secretary of State, both questioning whether Resolution 209 would stand up. And I'll quote the Secretary of State that if the city of Gun Barrel City was to send this document, your 6-pager, to them, she would consider that a sole proprietorship and not a corporation, and would not be able to approve it.
You're taking everything out of context, Joe.
She gave me the explanation that is in these documents that you hire a professional executive director to run the day-to-day operations and to advise the board on the regulations that were passed by the legislative act.
So this isn't a conversation about whether or not resolution 2018-009 is correct. It is correct, and it is done. This is a conversation about bylaws that do not reflect resolution 2018-009.
It does everything there except for the word managed. The
Which is
Secretary
a
of
rather
State,
big word.
the Secretary of State told me, and this is their attorney, that they did not consider that word. It was too ambiguous, and that they wanted to define what would happen by the executive director, and that they would not be allowed to take care of financial matters, contractual matters, or legal matters. That was the corporation's job.
Mr. Foster, did you have a comment?
I think that the board of directors of the corporation, we are the corporation. We're the corporation.
Ken, sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I said, as a board of directors of the corporation, we represent and really are the corporation. I think that this should be kept in mind. And I think this goes back to part of the discussion that we've been having over the word managed. There's nothing in this bylaws that have changed anything regarding the executive director's reporting line. We say that the board of directors reports to the city council, the executive director reports to the city council, and we define areas of positive interaction. I think, in my opinion, this is the best way to proceed in a cooperative, collaborative way. To think, unfortunately, that if the executive director is to manage the board, that will continue to cause some discussion that ultimately the city council will have to approve and wrestle with. It's out of our hands. That's why this needs to go forward to the board, from the board to the city council, and let them decide this and offer a new resolution.
Mr. Foster, correct me if I say anything here incorrect, but it's my understanding that the initial agreement was that the governance committee would take Ms. Cooper's red line set, which is what she told me she had, just a bunch of red line marks, and use that as a starting point, along with the current bylaws and any other documents that y'all might gather along the way to prepare a new set of bylaws. Is that correct?
We took the executive director's comments on their bylaws. We took the attorney's comments. All of those are integrated and shown in the draft copy there with the red and yellow marks on it. That's the whole purpose of that, was to show the board where we had included the executive director comments, as well as the attorney, if any, as well as our changes. So all of this information is incorporated into our document.
Okay, but
So you were
again, back.
Sorry, were you referring to Jeff Moore, the attorney?
He gave us a copy, yes, of his, and he said he really had no comments per se, but we did have a copy of that you provided us that apparently came from him, yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear any of that.
Ms. Cooper, he's saying that he didn't know, he assumed that your comments, your 6-page set, were including Jeff Moore's approval.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the original agreement was that they would take that set, they would put together a proposed set that would go before the board for approval, and then be presented to the city council in a workshop. Ms. Cooper, when I suggested that, you said that the workshop was not required, that the bylaws would go straight to the board for approval, and that's what we're doing.
I didn't tell you a workshop was not required for the bylaws. I told you that you had already spoken. There was a workshop that was scheduled without the board's approval, but that you and Joe Kyle scheduled with the council. And that's the one I was referring to. But let's go ahead, let's move on.
Mr. Kyle and I did not ever schedule a workshop with the council. But regardless, at this point, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on this motion with friendly amendments? We can vote on it, we can further discuss it, or we can table it at Ms. Cooper's suggestion as being something illegal.
No, I didn't ask to table it.
What
I would
are
like you to vote tonight, but
Okay,
you'll be voting on, you'll be voting very incorrectly, but it's up to you.
well, you'd like us to vote, but we're voting incorrectly.
Yes, it's not going to help to table it because, I mean, you're either going to approve them or you're not.
Okay,
So,
well, it's eventually going to go to council. It's
And that's
eventually going to
Yeah.
go to the attorney, at which time, in your opinion, in order to become correct and legal and binding, it needs to have a new resolution anyway. So resolution 009 will probably be overwritten by a new resolution adopting the 2021 bylaws. Is that correct?
resolution 2018-009 is not going to be overwritten by bylaws.
Okay.
That was a
Uh,
very separate resolution.
But you're saying
And
that a
That was
resolution
not
has,
related to bylaws.
but you're saying that in order for bylaws to become binding or legal, there has to be a resolution accepting them? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Okay.
that's a totally separate issue.
Okay, all right. Further discussion before we vote? Or I'll entertain a
I
motion to
just want to
table,
say-
whatever you want. Ron?
I just want to say one thing. The board did a great job putting all this stuff together and getting all the information on it. And I see a lot of good changes and stuff that were moved around and all in it. And I just want to say the board that y'all did a great job on putting all this together.
The committee.
Thank you for saying that. I meant to, I had that on my list to say that I want to thank the committee for their hard work. I know it took a lot of hours to putting this together. Okay. That said, I assume we're ready to vote on the amended motion to approve the 18-page set, pass it on to council for their critique, review, and approval, and to the attorney. So we'll need a yes or no on the motion as amended. Ms. Ball?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
I vote yes. Brandy?
No.
Ron?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. That said, thank you all for your time. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.